The rain-slicked streets of San Sebastián gleamed under the sodium lamps as Isabel's taxi skidded to a halt outside the Old Stone Hotel, her heart pounding like a war drum. She hadn't seen Isabel since graduation 4 years ago, that final screaming match in the dorm hallway echoing in her mind like a curse, but now with a single text. "I'm here. We need to talk." The past clawed its way back, raw and unforgiving. As she stepped out into the downpour, lightning cracked the Basque sky, and there, silhouetted in the lobby doorway, was Isabel, eyes like storm clouds, holding an umbrella that did nothing to shield the flood of emotions about to drown them both. Isabel slammed the taxi door harder than she meant to, the sound swallowed by thunder, and strode toward the hotel entrance with her overnight bag slung over one shoulder. Her boots splashed through puddles that mirrored the chaotic swirl of her thoughts. Why had she come? Why now, after vowing never to set foot in Spain, let alone face the woman who turned her college years into a battlefield of resentment and unspoken longing? Isabel stood frozen, her dark curls plastered to her forehead from the rain she braved to wait outside, her leather jacket zipped tight against the chill. At 32, she looked both achingly familiar and transformed, sharper cheekbones, a quiet confidence in her stance that college Isabel had hidden behind bravado and barbs. "Isabel," Isabel said, her voice barely audible over the storm, extending the umbrella like a fragile truce. It was the first time they'd spoken in years, and the way her name hung in the air, soft, weighted with history, sent a shiver down Isabel's spine that had nothing to do with the cold. Inside the lobby, the air was thick with the scent of polished wood and sea salt, a far cry from the stale pizza and cheap wine of their Dartmouth dorms. Isabel dropped her bag by a velvet armchair and peeled off her soaked coat, avoiding Isabel's gaze as she shook out her auburn waves. The silence stretched, broken only by the distant roar of waves against the Bay of Biscay. Finally, Isabel met her eyes, those deep brown pools that had once mocked her every insecurity, and felt the old fury bubble up, mixed with something dangerously softer. "You look good," Isabel muttered, hating how it sounded like a concession. "Spain suits you." Isabel's lips twitched, not quite a smile. "It's the exile that does it. Running from New England winters to this endless gray." She gestured vaguely toward the rain-lashed windows. "But you flew across an ocean for this? For me. Don't flatter yourself." Isabel's tone sharpened, the hook of defensiveness she'd clung to since their fallout. "I came because you begged. Because your text said it was life or death. And damn it, Isabel, even after everything, I couldn't ignore that." Isabel sank into the armchair opposite, her hands clasped tight in her lap, knuckles white. She was a painter now, Isabel knew from mutual friends' Instagram scrolls, vibrant abstracts sold in Madrid galleries, her name whispered in expat circles from Barcelona to Bilbao. But up close, the exhaustion etched lines around her eyes, the kind that came from carrying secrets too heavy for canvas. "It's cancer," Isabel said flatly, the word dropping like a stone into still water. "Stage 3. Liver. They caught it late." The world tilted. Isabel's breath caught, her mind reeling back to sophomore year, when Isabel had stolen her spotlight in that lit seminar, dissecting Wolf with a ferocity that left Isabel feeling small and exposed. The rivalry had festered. Study sessions turned shouting matches, whispers in the halls labeling Isabel the uptight Virginian, and Isabel the fiery Latina firecracker. They'd roomed together by accident, a housing lottery joke, and it had been war. Isabel's late-night flamenco playlists clashing with Isabel's classical piano practice, her casual hookups with women from the Queer Alliance making Isabel question her own buried desires in the dead of night. But now, in this Spanish hotel with its faded grandeur, those battles felt like childish skirmishes. Isabel reached across the space between them, her hand hovering before dropping to her knee. "Why me? Why not your family? Or whoever you're with now?" Isabel's laugh was bitter, hollow. "Family's a mess. Dad's in denial, mom's praying to saints who don't answer. And lovers? They come and go like seasons here. But you were the one who saw through me. Hated me for it, but saw me." Isabel swallowed hard, the admission stirring embers she'd long stamped out. Back then, the hate had been a shield. For the way Isabel's laugh lit up rooms Isabel crept through. For the electric charge when their arguments left them breathless and too close. She dated men to prove something, buried her confusion in straight-laced sorority mixers, While Isabel lived unapologetically, kissing girls at parties Isabel pretended not to watch. The concierge cleared his throat, offering sherry on a silver tray. They took glasses, the amber liquid warm against the chill, and Isabel found herself really talking for the first time in years. About her job in D.C., editing policy briefs for a think tank, the loneliness of metro commutes and takeout dinners. Isabel shared snippets of her life abroad. The thrill of her first solo exhibit in Seville, the ache of holidays alone in a foreign land. Hours slipped by, the rain easing to a drizzle, and when they finally retreated to Isabel's suite upstairs, insisting it was just for coffee, Isabel felt the walls she'd built cracking, one shared memory at a time. That night they didn't sleep. Curled on the balcony overlooking the darkened bay, wrapped in wool blankets against the autumn bite, they dissected their college ghosts. "Remember the time you accidentally spilled wine on my thesis notes?" Isabel teased, the words lighter than she'd intended. Isabel grinned, shadows playing across her face. "You deserved it," calling my poetry pretentious drivel, in front of the whole class. "You called my analysis soulless corporate speak." Isabel shot back, but there was no venom, only the spark of old fire rekindled into warmth. By dawn, as the first light painted the water pink, Isabel realized the hate had been fear of Isabel's vibrancy exposing her own muted colors. And in that fragile peace, as Isabel's head rested on her shoulder, Isabel whispered, "I never stopped thinking about you, even when I wished I had." The morning brought clarity with its fog-shrouded sun, and Isabel woke to the sound of Isabel humming in the kitchenette, brewing café con leche that filled the room with earthy comfort. She patted in barefoot, her sundress from the night before rumpled, and accepted the mug with a tentative smile. The suite was a cozy chaos of Isabel's life. Canvases leaned against walls, half-finished oils depicting crashing waves and shadowed figures, tubes of paint scattered like confetti on the table. "We should get out of here," Isabel said. Her voice steady but laced with that undercurrent of urgency Isabel was starting to recognize. "Walk the promenade. Clear our heads before I drag you into doctors' offices and pity parties." Isabel nodded, though her stomach twisted at the thought. Cancer. The word still felt alien, like a plot twist in someone else's story. They bundled up against the coastal wind, Isabel in a borrowed scarf that smelled of Isabel's citrus shampoo, and stepped into the waking city. San Sebastián in late fall was a watercolor dream. Belle Époque buildings lining La Concha Beach, surfers dotting the waves like seals, the air crisp with salt and pine from the nearby Urumia River. As they strolled the curved shoreline, hands brushing accidentally at first, then not so accidentally, Isabel felt the pull of something inevitable. Isabel pointed out her favorite spots, the Pinkso bars where she'd nursed heartbreak over Tsakali wine, the hidden alley where she'd sketched her first lover under moonlight. "Spain saved me," she confessed, kicking at a pebble. "After Dartmouth I was adrift. Thought I'd paint my way out of the anger." "Anger at what?" Isabel asked, though she suspected the answer. "You mostly." Isabel stopped, turning to face her, the sea breeze whipping her curls. "You were so buttoned up, so sure of your path. Law school corner office, the American dream wrapped in plaid skirts. I envied that. And I pushed because, God, Isabel, every time we fought, it felt like the only time you really saw me." Isabel's throat tightened. She remembered the nights after their blow-ups, lying awake in the twin bed across the room, listening to Isabel's soft breaths, wondering what it would be like to cross the gap and hold her. Instead, she'd channeled it into excellence. Top of their class, internship at a Boston firm, while Isabel flamed out spectacularly, dropping her senior thesis for a semester in Madrid that never ended. They paused at a bench overlooking the bay, the city humming around them. Fishermen hauling nets, joggers pounding the path, an old man feeding pigeons with crusts of bread. Isabel's hand found Isabel's, tentative, then firm, and neither pulled away. "I'm scared," Isabel admitted, her voice cracking. "Not just of dying. Of leaving things unsaid. With you." Isabel turned her palm up, lacing their fingers. The touch was electric, a current she denied for years. "Then say them. All of them." What followed was a torrent, Isabel's regrets over the women she'd loved and lost, her fear that her art was just a pretty distraction from real pain. Isabel's confessions of panic attacks in boardrooms, the men she dated as props to fit the script her Virginia family demanded. By the time they reached the old town, arms linked like old habit, the barriers were crumbling. They ducked into a taberna for jamon croquetas and Rioja, laughing over shared absurdities. The time Isabel had dyed her hair electric blue for a protest and Isabel had secretly admired it. But the idol shattered that afternoon. Isabel's phone buzzed relentlessly. Voicemails from her assistant, emails from the office piling up like accusations. She silenced it, but the guilt gnawed. "I can't stay forever," she said as they wandered the Gothic alleys of Part Vieja. "Work. Always work," Isabel interrupted, her tone sharpening with old resentment. "That's what drove us apart before. You chose safe over us, over everything. There was no us." Isabel snapped the words out before she could stop them. Heads turned in the narrow street, but she pressed on, heat rising. "You were chaos, Isabel. Partying till dawn, ghosting classes, making me question everything I thought I knew about myself. I hated you because you made me want more." The admission hung heavy, and Isabel's face softened, regret flickering. "I know. I was selfish. But we could have been." A street musician's accordion wheezed a melancholic tune, cutting her off. They walked in silence to a plaza fountain, where children chased bubbles and lovers stole kisses. Isabel watched Isabel trace patterns in the water with her finger, her profile etched in sunlight, and felt a ache bloom in her chest. Not hate, not anymore, but a love so tentative it terrified her. That evening, back in the suite, the conversation turned deeper, rawer. Isabel pulled out a sketchbook, flipping to pages filled with Isabel's likeness. Stolen moments from college, fierce and unguarded. "I drew you when I couldn't say it," she murmured. "Even then." Isabel traced the lines, tears pricking. "I wrote about you too. In journals I burned." She leaned in, their foreheads touching, breaths mingling. The kiss came naturally, soft at first, then deepening with the weight of years denied. It was revelation, lips tasting of salt and wine, hands mapping familiar curves with new reverence. They broke apart gasping, eyes locked, the world narrowing to this room, this moment. But as night fell, doubt crept in. Isabel lay awake beside Isabel's sleeping form, the curve of her hip a temptation and a torment. What was this? Pity? Closure? Or the truth she'd run from since freshman orientation? Outside, the sea whispered warnings, and Isabel wondered if love born of desperation could survive the dawn. Days blurred into a rhythm that felt both stolen and sacred. Isabel extended her stay, fabricating a research trip for the office, while Isabel rearranged her schedule around scans and infusions at the clinic in Bilbao. Mornings began with walks along Onderita Beach, where they'd collect seashells and share dreams deferred. Isabel's fantasy of writing novels instead of memos, Isabel's vision of a retrospective in New York. Afternoons were for exploring. Hikes through the Pagita Nature Reserve, where mist clung to ferns like secrets, and lazy lunches in Guetaria, savoring grilled turbot with tsakali that loosened tongues and limbs. Their connection deepened in quiet ways. One evening, as rain pattered the sweet skylight, Isabel taught Isabel to paint. Crude strokes of cerulean and sienna capturing the bay's fury. Isabel's hands, steady from years of typing reports, trembled under Isabel's guidance, paint smearing their fingers like shared blood. "See? It's not about perfection," Isabel whispered, her breath warm on Isabel's neck. "It's about the mess." Isabel laughed, a sound foreign to her DC life. "Says the woman who once critiqued my handwriting as oppressive." In those stolen hours, the physical pull became undeniable, woven with emotional threads. They danced to Isabel's flamenco records, bodies swaying in the dim light, hands lingering on waists and shoulders. Kisses evolved from tentative to consuming, but always stopping short. Boundaries respected in the face of Isabel's fragility. A mutual reverence that made the longing ache sweeter. It was love, Isabel admitted to herself one midnight, watching Isabel sleep. Not the fireworks of youth, but a steady hearth fire, humanistic in its quiet demand for presence. Yet shadows loomed. Isabel's treatments left her drained, nights of nausea, mornings of forced cheer. Isabel became nurse and confidant, holding her hair back, brewing ginger tea, whispering stories of resilient women from their lit canon. Austen heroines defying convention, Baldwin's truths piercing the heart. But the clinic visits unearthed cracks. During one wait in the sterile hallway, Isabel's phone lit up with a call from Elena. A name Isabel hadn't heard, but the intimacy in Isabel's voice when she answered twisted like a knife. "Who's Elena?" Isabel asked later, over a subdued dinner at a harborside bistro, the scent of grilled sardines clashing with her unease. Isabel hesitated, fork midway to her mouth. "My ex. From last year. She's local. Helps with the house sometimes." The vagueness stung. "Helps how? And why answer like she's your lifeline?" A sigh heavy as the fog rolling in. "It's nothing, Isabel. She's a friend. But you're here now, why dredge this up?" "Because I'm dredging everything." Isabel's voice rose, drawing glances from nearby tables. "We skipped from hate to this, us, and I need to know if I'm just the interim savior. The college ghost you summon because time's running out." Isabel's eyes flashed, the old fire returning. "You think that's it? Pity love? God, you're still so cynical." Elena was passion without depth. "Wild nights in Barcelona lofts, but she bolted when I got sick. You're the one who stayed, who sees the parts one hide." The words soothed and scalded. Isabel reached for her hand across the checkered cloth, but Isabel pulled back, standing abruptly. "Walk with me. I can't do this under fluorescent lights and wine lists." They wandered the Grove neighborhood, past graffiti-tagged walls and buzzing tapas bars, the argument simmering. "I came here to make amends," Isabel said finally, stopping under a street lamp that cast her in chiaroscuro. "Not to relive every flaw. But if you can't trust this us, then go back to your safe life." Isabel's heart fractured. Trust? After years of antagonism? The betrayal of silence when they'd needed each other most? Yet as Isabel's vulnerability shone through, hands shoved deep in pockets, shoulders hunched against the chill, she saw the truth. This was no game. It was redemption, fragile as sea glass. "I do trust you," Isabel whispered, stepping close. "I'm just terrified of losing you before I even have you." The kiss that followed was fierce, a clash of forgiveness and fear, sealing promises neither voiced. Back in the suite, they held each other through the night, bodies entwined in innocent comfort, the line between friendship and love blurring into something profound. But betrayal, when it came, was insidious. A week in, during a solo errand for fresh linens, Isabel's phone died, and in the hotel business center, she borrowed a computer to check email. Among the spam lurked a forwarded message from Elena to Isabel and a mutual art contact. "Darling, the Bilbao showing is set. Come celebrate after your appointment. I've missed our fire. The timestamp. Yesterday." While Isabel had been holding Isabel's hand through chemo fog, rage boiled hot and familiar. She stormed back, bursting into the suite where Isabel napped, sketchbook open on her lap. "Elena? Your friend who misses your fire? While I'm playing Florence Nightingale." Isabel jolted awake, confusion morphing to guilt. "It's not, I didn't." "You did." Isabel hurled the printout, tears streaming. "Lies from the start. I was a fool to think hate could turn to this." She grabbed her coat, fleeing into the twilight streets, the city a blur of hurtling trams and shadowed alleys. Behind her, Isabel's cries, "Wait! Please!" faded like echoes of their dorm fights. Alone on a bench by the Kurzal's glowing cubes, Isabel sobbed, the sea's roar mocking her naivety. Love, it seemed, was just another betrayal waiting to bloom. The night stretched endless, Isabel wandering San Sebastian's labyrinthine streets until her feet ached and her tears dried to salt tracks on her cheeks. She checked into a pension in the old quarter. A cramped room with floral wallpaper peeling like old skin, the bed sagging under the weight of her solitude. Sleep came in fits, haunted by memories. Isabel's laugh echoing in the college quad, her hand steadying Isabel during a drunken stumble at a frat party they'd crashed out of spite. How had hate soured into this exquisite pain? Dawn found her at a cafe near the Buenpaster Cathedral, nursing a courte-à-deux and staring at her phone. No messages. Pride warred with desperation. She typed and deleted apologies a dozen times before pocketing it and heading to the promenade. The beach was deserted, waves gnashing at the shore like accusations. She walked until exhaustion forced her to the sand, knees drawn up, the cold seeping through her jeans. By noon, resolve cracked. She returned to the hotel suite, keycard trembling in her hand. The door swung open to chaos. Canvases toppled, Isabel's paint strewn like battlefield casualties. And there in the wreckage sat Isabel, head in hands, a half-packed suitcase at her feet. "You're back," Isabel whispered, voice raw, not looking up. "I thought you'd run for good this time." Isabel closed the door softly, the click of punctuation. "I almost did. But running's what we do best, isn't it? From each other, from ourselves." Isabel lifted her gaze, red-rimmed and wrecked. "The email. It was nothing. A habit from before. I haven't seen her since the diagnosis. I swear it." Swears mean shit when trust's already shattered. Isabel sank to the floor across from her, the carpet rough under her palms. "But this it's more than that. It's the what-ifs we've carried since college. The betrayal wasn't just Elena. It's all the years we wasted hating instead of loving." Isabel finished the word a bridge. She crawled forward, tentative, until they knelt face to face, breath sinking. "I was scared too. Of pulling you into this mess. Of you resenting me when the chemo wins." Isabel cupped her face, thumbs brushing tears. "Then let me in. All the way. No ghosts, no exes haunting the edges." The reconciliation was a slow burn, hours of talking, unpacking the suitcase's symbolic flight, piecing together the splintered trust. They called Elena together, Isabel's voice firm as she ended the thread. "We're done. For good." Relief washed over them, mingled with grief for the woman Elena had been before illness reframed everything. In the days that followed, their bond solidified, a deliberate weaving of threads. Isabel quit her job via email, resignation laced with gratitude for the push toward authenticity, and committed to staying through winter. They traveled west along the coast, to the rugged cliffs of Cabo Fisterra, where legend held the world's end. There, in a stone cottage rented from a local fisherman, they built a routine. Mornings of yoga on the headlands, afternoons painting side by side, evenings reading aloud from a stack of queer-lit Isabel had shipped from Amazon. Audre Lorde, Jeanette Winterson, voices echoing their own quiet revolution. Intimacy flowered organically, chaste yet profound. They'd bathe together in the clawfoot tub, soapy hands tracing scars. Isabel's port from treatments, Isabel's faint stretch marks from a youth spent hiding in baggy clothes. "You're beautiful," Isabel murmured one night, toweling Isabel's hair by candlelight. "All of you. The fight, the fragility." Isabel pulled her close, their bodies aligning in perfect sync. "And you're my anchor. Steady when I spin." But the cancer was a relentless antagonist, staging its climax in Bilbao's hospital under fluorescent glare. A routine scan revealed spread to the lymph nodes, the doctors said gravely, their white coats starched symbols of inevitability. Isabel collapsed in sobs that shook the bed, Isabel holding her through the night, whispering fierce denials into her hair. "We fight this," Isabel vowed, channeling the litigator she'd buried. "Trials specialists, whatever it takes." Isabel nodded, but her eyes held a distant peace. "Promise me something. If, when. Don't let this define us. Remember the love, not the loss." The words chilled, a premonition. Back in the cottage, conflict erupted. Not from betrayal, but from clashing hopes. Isabel scoured forums for alternative therapies, booking flights to Houston for proton treatments, while Isabel withdrew, sketching feverishly, her abstracts turning darker, swirls of indigo and crimson evoking tempests. "I don't want to be a patient jetting across oceans," she snapped one stormy afternoon, as rain lashed the windows. "I want to live here now with you. Not chase miracles that might break us." "You're giving up," Isabel hurled back, voice echoing off stone walls. "After everything, you choose defeat?" "It's not defeat, it's dignity." Isabel's retort cut deep, her frailty belying the steel. "You came for redemption. Now you're fighting my war. Let me choose my peace." The argument raged until exhaustion claimed them, collapsing on the rug in a tangle of limbs and laments. In the hush, Isabel saw the truth. Her drive was fear, not faith, fear of losing the love she'd only just claimed. "I'm sorry," she breathed, kissing Isabel's temple. "Your fight, your terms. I'm here for it all." They emerged stronger, the betrayal of mismatched grief forging deeper empathy. Isabel agreed to one more round of targeted therapy, Isabel to presence over pursuit. As December's solstice approached, they hiked the coastal path to the lighthouse, hands clasped against gales, the Atlantic a vast witness to their vow, to love wholly humanly come what may. Yet fate, dramatic as any Greek chorus, had one final twist waiting in the wings. Winter gripped the Galician coast like a jealous lover, winds howling from the Atlantic to batter the cottage's shutters. Isabel and Isabel hunkered down, transforming the space into a sanctuary. Fairy lights strung along beams, a hearth crackling with eucalyptus logs that perfumed the air with healing promise. The therapy held, scans showed stabilization, a fragile plateau that bought time if not triumph. They celebrated with a feast of percebes scavenged from the rocks, steam rising like hope, toasting with sidra poured from height into wide glasses. In this cocoon their love matured, laced with the humanistic threads of everyday grace. Isabel took up writing in earnest, penning essays on reinvention that she read aloud by firelight. Isabel's critiques gentle evolutions of their old spars. Less policy jargon, more heart, she teased. Then pull Isabel onto her lap for edits that dissolved into laughter and lingering touches. Isabel's painting flourished too, a series called Tempests and Truces, canvases of storm-tossed lovers finding harbor, sold sight unseen to a collector in Santiago de Compostela. But the idol's underbelly was the unspoken clock. Isabel's energy waxed and waned, good days blending with fatigue that pinned her to the sofa. Isabel's arms her only anchor. One February morning as sleet sheeted the windows, the call came from Elena of all specters. Not malice but mercy. I heard about the spread. There's a trial in Barcelona, experimental but promising. Off books but I pulled strings. Isabel's face lit with cautious fire. Why now? After everything. Because I was wrong to leave, Elena replied, voice crackling over the line. And because she deserves every shot. She meant Isabel, the subtext clear. The offer ignited conflict anew. A betrayal not of infidelity but of independence. Isabel paced the kitchen, mug of té negro clenched like a grudge. Barcelona? That's hours away, infusions twice weekly. We'd uproot everything for a maybe. Isabel watched her, calm amid the storm. It's a chance. One I didn't ask for but can't ignore. And Elena? She's worming back in, playing savior to absolve her guilt. Isabel's voice cracked, old wounds reopening. I won't be the fool twice. Isabel rose, bridging the gap with steady hands on Isabel's shoulders. This isn't about her. It's about us, fighting smart, not safe. Trust me like you promised. The plea disarmed. Isabel nodded, tears spilling, and they packed that week. Easels and laptops bundled into a rented Citroën, driving south through mist-shrouded eucalyptus groves. Barcelona welcomed them with Mediterranean warmth, a flat in the Eixample district overlooking Gaudi's undulations, a city of sinuous lines mirroring their entwined path. The trial was grueling. Needles and nausea, but glimmers of efficacy and bloodwork. Amid it, romance bloomed in stolen pockets. Picnics in Park Güell, where mosaics glittered like their shared dreams. Siestas in the flat, bodies curled under linen sheets, whispers tracing futures. After this, Isabel murmured one twilight, as the Sagrada Familia pierced the sky like a spire of possibility, we go home. New England or wherever. Build a life. Isabel kissed her palm. With a studio for you, a desk for me. And no more running. But climax crashed upon them in April, under a sky bruised with thunderheads. The lead doctor, a stern Catalan with wire-rimmed glasses, delivered the verdict in a consultation room smelling of antiseptic and despair. The trial had stalled the beast, but metastasis lurked in the bones. Months, perhaps a year. Palliative care, the new map. Isabel shattered, sobs racking her frame. Fists pounding the armrest until bruises bloomed. Isabel held her, rocking like a child, her own grief a silent scream. No, she choked. We were supposed to. Shoo. Isabel pulled back, eyes fierce through tears. This isn't the end of us. It's the shape of us. Love like this, raw, real, it's the win. They fled to the beach at Barceloneta, sand gritty under bare feet, the sea a churning mirror to their turmoil. Isabel raged at the waves, hurling shells like curses, while Isabel sat serene, sketching the horizon. Betrayal, Isabel spat finally, collapsing beside her. Not yours, life's. For dangling this, then yanking it away. Isabel set aside her pad, drawing Isabel close. Then we rewrite it. Humanely. With grace. The months that followed were a masterclass in such grace. A road trip west to reclaim Spain's wild heart, stopping in Toledo for Isabel's retrospective, where patrons wept at canvases pulsing with their story. In Extremadura's olive groves they renewed vows under ancient trees, rings exchanged from a village jeweler, simple silver bands etched with waves. Isabel's essays found a publisher, her voice emerging as a beacon for late-blooming queers. Isabel's art soared, each piece a testament to love's tenacity. Yet as summer waned, the end loomed. Back in the Isample flat, Isabel grew ethereal, her vibrancy dimming like sunset. Isabel tended her with rituals. Fresh figs sliced thin, poetry recited in tandem. A chabi on endurance, rich on the dream of a common language. One August eve, as fireworks lit the Ramblas for a forgotten saint's day, Isabel faltered, breath shallow, hand clammy in Isabel's. "Promise me," she gasped, eyes locking with the woman who'd been rival, redeemer, reason. "Live loud. For both of us." Isabel nodded, throat sealed. "I promise. And I'll carry you, in every stroke, every word." Isabel smiled, slipping away as the sky bloomed brilliant, her last breath a sigh of release. Isabel held her through the night, the city's pulse a lullaby, grief a vast ocean yielding to peace. In the years after, Isabel returned to Dartmouth as a visiting lecturer, her memoir, Tempests and Truces, a quiet bestseller, weaving their tale into curricula on resilience and love's queer contours. She founded a scholarship for Latina artists, visited Spain annually to tend Isabel's gravesite overlooking Fisterra, scattering petals and painting en plein air. Betrayal's sting faded, transmuted to gratitude, for the hate that forged clarity, the reconnection that birthed eternity. In the end, their story wasn't tragedy or triumph, but profoundly human. Two women, flawed and fierce, who learned that love, once claimed, defies even death's grasp.